What is the most important thing about a parent's upbringing of their child? Number one factor is role modeling. You must be the role model before you can teach them. You must be the role model before you can teach them. You might be saying, what if they're only 1 year old? Do I have to be a role model? Yes, wallahi al-azim. Studies have shown that a 1-year-old child, when they hear their parents fighting or screaming or swearing, the child feels distressed and they cry. Subhanallah. Other than food or whatever. And as they get older, especially, it is established that now between the age of 2 and 7 years old is where the child develops its identity and character. And it takes it from the parents. If your children are teenagers, you need to be role modeling. You can't tell them one thing and do the other. And here is the thing. Of course, you're a human being. Parents are human beings. If you make a mistake, let your children know you made a mistake. That's how you remedy it. There's nothing wrong with that. Or if you shouted at them in the wrong time, or you said something you shouldn't have said, go back and sit them down. Say, look, son, daughter, I made a mistake. I'm only human. Nothing wrong with saying, forgive me. Give them a hug if you can. Wallahi, they'll love you more. They'll understand you're human and you make mistakes, and it's forgiving. And they'll learn that too from you. So role modeling, my brothers and sisters. Number 2 is having consistency in your rules and in your promises. Don't give them conflicting rules. 1 minute you're allowed, next minute you don't allow for no other reason, for no reason. They won't respect you. In fact, brothers and sisters, I'm going to give you 4 aspects that if you do them, you are sure to lose them. 4 things you do them, you are sure to lose them. Number 1, violence and always getting angry. Violence and always getting angry. Violence is physical, verbal, severely emotional, severely mental, even religious violence. What do I mean by religious violence? Meaning using the text to your advantage when you were not allowed. For example, a parent says to their child, go and steal. And just giving you a generic example. Otherwise, Allah will be angry with you for not listening to me. A parent says, you've got to marry this person. Otherwise, the anger of Allah is upon you. The parent says, every bit of money you have, you must give it to me, even if the parent is not in need of it. This is haram. Violence emotionally, putting them down, calling them names, ridiculing them. You are sure to lose your child. Sarcasm, emotional blackmail, smacking them, getting a regular habit of doing these things, especially if they're older. Throwing or hitting objects. I've seen both mothers and fathers. Fathers will use their fist, they'll break walls, or they hit the child. Mothers, sometimes they break glass, they throw food on the floor, screaming at the dad, dad screams at the mum, they slam the doors. All of this is violence, brothers and sisters. You are destroying your children this way, if you do that, God forbid. There's even the opposite. It's called the long silent treatment. Ya akhi, speak to your children. Listen to them. Sit down with them. They don't know anything. They're growing up, they're developing. Brothers and sisters, a sure way to lose them is bad role modeling, as I said, regularly contradicting yourself, dishonest, has no clear rules, fights and puts down spouse, speaks ill of their other parent. Number 3, doesn't listen. You only advise, but you don't listen. You only advise, you don't listen. You only lecture, you don't listen. It's only your way or the highway. You're going to lose your child. Your child is unheard, and they'll develop low self-esteem. They'll be afraid to talk. They'll think they're a nobody, only rules, and you develop with them a weak personality. They're not going to be able to stand up for themselves. The parent won't admit their mistake. They won't let their child speak. They won't acknowledge when their child is right. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was different to that. He showed his grandchildren in front of them in the masjid. He said, if anybody I've done anything to them, take your right now. A man said, Ya Rasulullah, you smacked my stomach one time. He lifted his shirt and said, take your revenge. In front of his grandchildren. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam showed. Obviously Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam didn't hurt him. The man ended up kissing the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's stomach. But the point is that Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu was only 10 to 12 years old. He lived with him for 2 years. He said, I learned with the Prophet ﷺ and I served him. Wallahi, I never heard him one time. Actually, he stayed with him 9 years. He said, Wallahi, not once did I hear the Prophet ﷺ say to me, Uff, or why did you do that? Why would you do that? Why didn't you do that? He never said anything like that. Abadan, never put me down. One time he sent him on an errand. Anas ibn Malik, he says, I was about 10. He sent me on an errand. And then I got caught up watching children playing. I forgot about the errand and I'm just watching, like what a kid does, watching and looking, playing, because that's what naturally a kid loves doing. Rasul ﷺ came around, he says, I heard a man from behind me laughing and smiling and saying, what happened to the errand, Anas? And then I looked around, I saw the Prophet ﷺ cheerful, wallahi, he was like the moon. And I said, I'm going now. And he said, very well, don't worry, you can play, just do the errand. Easy, easy. SubhanAllah, my daughter, a few months ago, I remember, I spilt the milk, putting milk, and I spilt it. And I got angry with myself and upset, and I sat on the floor. My daughter holds my hand, and she says to me, it's okay, Bobo. We all make mistakes. She was 8 years old at the time. I mean, she's 9 years old at the time. It's okay, Bobo, we all make mistakes. Just clean it up, and I'll help you. She made more of a mess, but she's helping. It's not a problem. You know, by the way, children, when they muck up things, don't look at it that way. You know, keep away the dangerous stuff away from them, but they're being scientists. They're discovering. They're learning. Sometimes parents, they don't let their child even play in the dirt or the soil. Doesn't matter, let them play in the soil. The soil is clean, brothers and sisters. Oh, they ate a worm. Doesn't matter if they ate a worm. It's not going to kill them. It actually builds their immune system. So I believe in this day and age, because of all the rubbish that we have around, the takeaway and the sheltering our children too much, has developed into all these different allergies that we're getting these days. And then there's more vaccines, and they're making more money off us. Serious. A child is made to play in the dirt and the soil and the sand and put stuff in their mouth. Just keep away the dangerous stuff and keep an eye out of it if they're really small. Let them experiment. And I know a lot of you are saying, Wallah, brother, I wish that was true. Now they're on their gadgets, they're on their devices, they're inside. We want them to go outside. Do your best. You've got to sometimes be firm with them. And don't think that you are being mistreating to them if you take away the devices or you wake them up a little bit early. Sometimes we have students who are late to school, and I'd call the parents and they say, I feel bad waking them up a little bit earlier. I want them to get their beauty sleep. I said, that's not being a good parent. You need to wake them up earlier. Nothing's going to happen to them. They'll be resilient. That's being good parenting. That's good. Allow them to practice and do things by themselves. Not everything you have to do it for them. Otherwise, you'll raise a lazy, self-entitled, obnoxious brat. That's what you're going to raise. So brothers and sisters, allow them to make mistakes. So